Hello guys and gals. So in today's tutorial we are going to be covering this cool hologram effect. This has been requested by a guy whose real name I know because he added me on Facebook and he's been chatting to me on Facebook, but his YouTube name I cannot remember. He requested it on YouTube first, but he found my Facebook because he's a stalker. He's not a stalker, he's cool. And it's just like my YouTube's my real name, so anybody can find me. Oh no, I've been rumbled. But yeah, I'm not going to say his real name because privacy. But we're going to be covering this. This was a request. So hologram effect. We're only going to be using 4 textures. Now you'll notice in this folder I've only got 3. The 4th is starter content, so if you have the engine, you have this texture. So I don't need to provide that to you. But I will throw these ones into a Google Drive folder and send them to you guys. So we've just got this Earth that's been taken from the NASA website. I've used that to generate a basic normal map, and then I've just got some scan lines, which are just black and white lines. And they're going to act as the mask that you can see here that's making this really nice effect that's scrolling upwards. Excuse me. Now then, before I delete this, I'm going to press save. So save all. I'm going to delete it. Here it goes. Goodbye, little hologram. Boink. I know for some people it kills them when I do that. So we're going to create a new material, hologram _m. We're going to open this up, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change this to a translucent unlit material. Now the reason we're going with a translucent is because opaque is simple on or off as far as masking is concerned, with white being on, black being off. So grey values in between will not work. Anything below 0.5 I believe will turn off, and everything above 0.5 will make something on, so we can't use a grayscale. But we need to be able to use grayscales for this. We're using translucent, and we're going to use unlit so that we don't have lighting affect the hologram, because holograms are typically made of light. It's kind of what they do. So these aren't actually going to be affected. Shadows cannot be cast on these, so we don't want any lighting to affect it. So we're going to grab our 3 textures. We're just going to pull these in. We'll maximize this up real quick. I'm just going to spread these out a little bit. And the first thing we're going to work with is the diffuse. Now, we're actually not going to be using the entire thing. We're just going to be using one channel. And I will show you why. Inside the different channels here, we have different information. So we've got each channel has its own grey scale info. Now, each one of these can be considered a mask because when they're combined they give actual colours, but when they're on their own they're black and white because each channel's got 8 bits in, and those represent values of 0 to 255, which is 256 different values, which are all grayscale values, but when you combine the different channels together you get colours. Yay! Okay, I'm not going to go into much more detail on how colours work because it's quite a complex system, but that's the basic rundown. You don't need to know that, that's extra information. But we're just going to be using one channel because we don't want colour, we just want the black and white, so we're going to be using this like a mask. I'm choosing to use blue. You can experiment with any of these different channels to see the different results that you can get. So, what are we going to do with this? Well, I'm going to press M and left click to multiply it, and I'm going to put the blue channel in here. And then I'm just going to ramp this up, so I'm going to put this to about 2.5. And in fact, I'm going to hold S and left click for a scalar parameter. I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to name the scalar parameter to mask strength. If I could spell, that would help. There we are. I'm just going to default this to 2.5. And now if we were to preview this node, you can see what it's doing here is it's giving us this nice grayscale image. Yay! So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our colour in. So we're going to hold M and left click again, and we're going to multiply this, hold 3 and left click for a 3 vector, plug this into the multiply, and now we're going to give this our colour. I'm going to go with a light blue, like the one that you saw in the example. So you have, it's 0.783 and then 1. If we were to now preview this, we get the same image as before, but all of the values have been multiplied by the blue. Huzzah! So we'll start previewing that. Now we're going to hold L and left click for a lerp, and we're going to plug this into the B. And now for the alpha, what we're going to do is we're going to create a Fresnel. So, oops. Right click and type Fresnel. F-R-E-S-N-E-L. The S is silent, don't forget that. And now, what we're going to do here is to make the Fresnel a little bit more tasty looking, because if we were to preview this now, notice what it does is, based on angle, it gives a little white glow around the edge, almost like a gradient. And no matter how much we rotate this, that will stay on the edge. If we plug a normal into the normal, then you can see that now the Fresnel is also affecting this normal map that's on there, which is really cool. Also really weird at the same time. So to make this work properly, excuse me, I'm really coming down with something. We're going to change this Fresnel. The exponent is going to be 20, and the base refraction is going to be 0.5. And now we get this, which, you know, I might change this base refraction maybe to 0.05. Let's see how that looks. That's a bit nicer. But we can play around with those values all we want. Just experiment with them to see what kind of effect that you're going to like. Now we're going to use this as the alpha because the Fresnel is just black and white data. We can use this as a mask. And now if we were to preview the lerp, you'll notice now, depending on the angle, we change the color of the actual hologram. So you can see here. Now that Fresnel is a little bit strong based on this refraction, so I'm going to change this to maybe 0.2. So we get more blue and less black, but you can see that's actually a really nice effect there. It's really cool. So what the lerp is doing is it's using the alpha, and for black and white data it's changing the values between A, which is 0 and just black, and B, which is our color. So what are we going to do with this lerp? We are actually going to get a blend overlay. Oops, blend overlay. And you can imagine this is just kind of like an overlay in Photoshop. It does the same kind of thing. So you can see what it says there. I've got my mouse floating over it. It's emulating Photoshop's overlay blend mode. Yay! Don't need to explain it. It's right there. Cool. So this is going to help us blend together the different things that we're going to be using. So next we're going to work on the scan lines. So we're going to plug the scan lines directly into the blend overlay, and if we preview this, we can see what we get, and we get these lines right on top of the Earth. Okay, but they're not quite doing what we want them to do. I'm going to keep this previewing, and we're going to start building onto these scan lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold P and left click for a panner. We're going to plug that into the UVs of the texture sample, and if we click on the panner and we change the speed Y, which is the up and down axis, to 0.2, we can start moving these lines. So now you can see that these lines are actually moving based on the panner. Yay, they're doing a thing, which is really cool. But this isn't quite what we want. It's not going to give us the correct effect. As you can see, it's not really looking very hologrammy right now. The reason being is these lines are really thick, they're a bit too uniform, and they're not really very random. They don't feel random, it feels mathematic, and we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the coordinates ever so slightly. So what we will do now is hold M and left click for a multiply. We're going to put that into the coordinate here. That's going to break things for a minute. You're just going to get this flash in black because there's like barely any coordinate data inside this multiply. We're going to hold U and left click for our texture coordinate, and we're going to plug this into A. Now with this set to 1 and 1, it's getting multiplied by 1, which means we're just getting the absolute base UVs for this scan lines. But I'm going to increase this to 2 on both, and that's going to give us double the amount of scan lines. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a screen position. Oops. I'm going to multiply this by 2.5 and plug this into the B. There we go. And now you can see that screen position is having a slight effect on the way that they work. From above now we can see that they're kind of warping together if we're too close. As we get further away, they get more accurate, so that here we're kind of inside the hologram and it's kind of bubbling around us. Yay! Right, so this still isn't quite what we want. It's a little bit weird looking. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to take all of this, copy and paste it. We're going to change the texture coordinates to be 4. So now this one's going to get twice as many as the previous one. We're going to hold A and left click for an add. We're going to add the 2 scan lines together, and then we'll plug this into the blend. And now you can see we get these nice overlapping lines. They overlap with each other, which kind of gives this blinking effect while they still scroll. So it looks like the different pieces of the hologram are blinking in and out of existence while they're being drawn, which is actually really nice. Now, as with anything, you can play with the values. I think this panner, I'm also going to increase its speed to 0.4 so the blinking occurs a bit more often, or less often as it may seem. Let's see, we'll put 0.3. There we go, that's nice. Nice. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to add our transparency very quickly because we haven't done this yet. So we're going to hold S and left click for a scalar. We'll plug this into opacity, and we're going to set this default to 0.5 so it's half there, half not, and we're going to call this opacity so that we know what we're doing. Excuse me. The next thing that we need to do is we're going to add the nice glow around the outside. And that's where we're going to get our new texture. So if we go to our content folder and we search for tiling, you'll find tiling noise 03, which is a kind of cloud map. Drag that in, and the toiling nose, the toiling nose, right? The toiling, oh my god, the tiling noise, dyslexia, don't do this to me. Right, the tiling noise is what we're going to use to make this almost random wobbly glow around the edge. So here we're going to get another Fresnel, but this time we're going to use a Fresnel underscore function, which gives us a few more options. We're going to plug this into the texture sample, and if we were to preview this, you can see we're getting this really weird looking blobbiness. Ooh. In fact, we're not going to plug that in there. I've plugged that into the wrong spot. Hee hee hee. What we're going to do with this clouds is we need to panner these as well. So hold P and left click for a panner. We'll plug that into the UVs. We'll panner this at maybe 0.2 as well. So we have this nice now scrolling cloud effect on the circle. We're going to get our screen position as well. So we want this to be affected by our screen position. We're going to plug that into the coordinate. There we are. So now you can see that the closer we are, the more we get in there. Yay. Now we will stop previewing this real quick. We will hold M and left click for a multiply. We plug the clouds into the multiply and the Fresnel into the multiply. And if we were to preview this multiply now, ooh, that looks weird, right? Now the reason this looks weird is because the Fresnel isn't getting any information. So we're going to use a camera vector. So we'll right click, camera vector. There we go, camera vector WS, which is world space. We're going to plug this into the camera vector here. So it's going to look at where the camera is, and it's going to change the Fresnel based on the camera position. And then we're going to hold 1 and left click for a constant and plug this into power, and we're going to set the power to 10, which is going to determine how much we use, like how big this black area is in the middle. And now you can see we've got this nice wobbly white edging. You see that there? It's really nice. It's pushing the clouds outwards. We're going to scalar this. So we're going to right click, convert to parameter, and we'll call this Fresnel power. Okay. Let's stop previewing that. What we're now going to do is we're going to multiply this by another scalar, so hold S and left click, plug that in, and this is going to be our he's pressing all the things, our glow power. We're going to default this to about 150, so we don't want this to be too strong. And what that's going to do is it's going to take all the values here and it's going to make them brighter. So anything that's black is going to stay black because black is 0, so 0 multiplied by anything is 0. But white is 1, so it's going to be 1 multiplied by this number. So here you can see it, and then you can see that the grey is getting some in there, and that's because grey is 0 point something, so it is actually going to get multiplied in the grey areas, which is going to give us this nice wobbly effect. We'll stop previewing that. Now what we're going to do is we are going to multiply that by the blend overlay. So now we get the two things combined. If we look at this here, now you can see that we have this, which is really cool. So it's taking the scan lines into account, so the scan lines are affecting the glowy wobbliness on the outside. And then we're going to hold A and left click for an add node. We'll stop previewing that. And then we're going to add this multiply back into the blend overlay. So the blend overlay is then having this added on top. And if we now plug this into the emissive color, we get a really nice hologram. There we go, with the nice wobbly glows on the outline, so you get this nice variation of where the most glow is. You get some areas that are a bit darker. And that's everything is parameterized. So if we, oh actually, not the color, let's right click the color, convert to parameter, and we'll call this color. We'll apply that. Now I just have a sphere here. This is just a shape sphere, so if you're in the content folder and you just search for a sphere, you'll get a shape sphere. And then I'm going to apply the hologram, so hologram, put this on there. You can see that this is now exactly what I showed you at the beginning. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back to where our content is. So where's the hologram? There it is. We're going to right click it, we'll create a material instance. We'll just leave this called instance for now. I'm going to put this onto the sphere instead. And if we open this up, you can now see that all of our parameters are here. And if we turn them all on, we can change these in real time. So if we want this to actually not be a hologram at all, we can make it opaque, we can make it really, really light if we wanted. We can increase the mask, which will brighten the white areas, but you know, going too high is a little bit weird. Look at that. Ooh. Isn't that weird? So we're not going to play with that one too much. If we increase the glow power, obviously we're going to get more glow around the edge, as you can see here. And then this one here that we have the Fresnel power is going to affect how much of the outside glows. Now the lower this value, the more of it is. The higher the value, the less of it. If you go too high, you're not going to get anything at all. So about between 10 and 12 is actually a really nice value for that one. So we're not actually really going to play with that too much. The glow is a bit, ooh, look at that. Yeah, glow baby. We'll just quickly say that. And same with color. If we change the color, it will change the color of the entire thing. So, ooh, that's a really nice color. I like that. We'll turn the glow down because that's a bit offensive. We'll turn the opacity up. There we go. Oh, there's just one more thing that we need to do to this. In fact, that I forgot. Let's go into the original hologram. We will open this up. What we're going to do is we're going to, so we'll just move this along. We're going to hold P and left click for a panner. We're going to plug this into the two texture samples from the beginning, so the diffuse and the normal. And then we are going to just give these some speed on the X, so we'll put 0.2. And what this will do, it will rotate the actual, whew, that's a bit quick, 0.01. It will rotate the actual, the Earth textures that we have in there. Now if you want this to be parameterized as well, if you use a scalar, now I'm going to show you this is going to break it. If you use a scalar and we just call this speed, oops, come on, speed, and we set this to 1, what this is going to do is it's going to assign that value to both. So you can notice now it's going up and it's going sideways. Okay, so if we turn this down to 0.1, we'll be able to see that a little bit better. It's kind of scanning diagonally, which, you know, the Earth is on a slight tilt, but, you know, we don't actually want that for the hologram. So what we actually need to do for this one is we're going to create two scalar parameters. The first is going to be the speed x. The second is going to be speed y. And now what we're going to do is right click and append vector. If we plug y into B and x into A, and then we plug this into speed, the panner is going to recognize the append, and it's going to break these two different vectors into two values. So it's going to recognize that A is the first value and B is the second value, and as speed has two values, which are x and y, it's going to recognize x as A, y as B. So if we were to change the speed of x here, we should only rotate on one axis. And we do. So that works. And just to show you that that's not actually full of nearly swore, we're going to change the Y value as well, and that should now rotate it upwards, and it does. So that's working. So that allows us to split the two values, but you still use scalar parameters. So I'm actually going to default this to 0.01, and we'll apply that. We'll go into here, open up our lovely thing, our instance, and you can see that it's working with the instance as well. So there we have it, hologram. Now obviously you can go to a bit more lengths with this. You can add some light shafts underneath if you wanted. You could add some little tags here that rotate with it, whatever you wanted to do. But that's the basic way of getting quite a nice and effective and simple, excuse me, hologram effect. Today is just a bad day for voice recording, but you know what? I say that I record these and keep the errors, and I do, so you're gonna get to keep that. Enjoy that one, guys. Right, so that's this done. I hope you guys enjoy that, and this is something that you can use. Feel free to experiment with this. I'm gonna give you all the textures. Mess with these values. Don't take these values at like face value. You can do what you want with this. This is you know, it's yours to do what you want with. So experiment with it, have fun with it, and that's it. I will see you guys next time.